before we get started today, it's a very serious topic too. I'd like to advertise my friend Nate. He's got a wonderful cleaning service. If you're moving out or you're moving in, if you have an apartment or home in need of detailing, call his company, which is Innate Deep Cleaning Services, at 845-243-7709. Once again, if you need some real good deep cleaning, some detailing, I mean, your house or your apartment is never going to be as clean as when you first got it. It's going to be cleaner than when you first got it, actually. It's going to be so immaculate, it's like God himself just touched your apartment. That's what my boy Nate does. Call Innate Deep Cleaning Services. Once again, that's 845-243-7709. Definitely tell them that you heard it from Backpacking America, and that you are ready to have your home looking spectacular. Now we're going to talk about Astroworld. So I touched on it a little bit last video, and I kind of have to get myself a little more composed to talk about this. I was reading some firsthand accounts, and oh wow, that was some really heavy stuff. Basically, people saw people dying in front of them. There's a thread. I'm gonna post some stuff in the Facebook Live for our viewers to listen to later, but to look at later. But basically, it shows like a detailed account of the girl that climbed the tiered platform to tell the cameramen what was happening, and the cameramen weren't helping her at all. In fact, one threatened to throw her off of the supposedly threatened to throw her off of the platform, which is a 15-foot platform. Multiple people described the same thing, where essentially there was how do I describe it, like this air of not being able to breathe. There was this like people were on top of each other, and you actually literally couldn't breathe. Like the woman that was waving down the cameraman was actually all the way by the front, and she was describing how she felt pushed and like she couldn't breathe, and that there were so many people around that like if you put your foot somewhere, like that's where your foot was. There were other people saying like there was so many people that people were falling, and there was like a pit that was commonly described, and people were just being pushed into like this hole of people, and people in that scenario or trying to get out described seeing other people literally like on the ground, like almost dying. If you try to defend someone, you couldn't defend someone. And we got some commenters chiming in. We got Carrie. Hi, Carrie. You're good. I'm learning how to pay attention to the chat and to my face at the same time. So you're good. If anything, you're helping me get better at this. But God, why did I not do Facebook Live instead? Why have I been doing Twitch? God. Anyway, the whole scenario is disgusting, and there's actually multiple videos that I'm gonna post too, where it's actually in the thread that I just sent out, where the music stops and people literally were saying like, "Yo, this is crazy, stop." Like you could hear like hundreds of thousands of people screaming stop at the top of their lungs, like whenever the music stopped. And there's at least like a 20-second period where there's no music and it's just screaming for help. Now, I'm in the media and I have common sense. So from a media perspective, if I'm manning a camera and I'm over the crowd of about 15 feet, one, I see everything. So naturally, like if I could see everything when I was doing promotions crew at a radio station, I would definitely be able to see everything on a 15-foot platform. So one, they cannot be excused for ignoring the entire situation. Two, common sense position. If I'm a performer or I'm working a show and I see that there is literally people screaming for help and something doesn't look right, then naturally I'm going to stop the show or just say, hey, everyone just stand still for a second, help everyone up, and let's, give each other some space. That's the normal thing to do. That, like, no duh. There was a Foo Fighters clip from, like, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s, where they stopped the show to make sure, like, a kid could get up because he fell in a mosh pit. Because they know that people die at these things. And Travis Scott this is a very hyper example, and it brings out the worst in our society, right? And, I complain about individualism. I complain about lack of community. And there were a lot of heroes that night, and there were a lot of bad people that night. People dancing on ambulances for clout. People that were, literally just like blocking security or like cheering on, Travis saying, yeah, fuck security, you guys are some bitches. Those people that were just, doing that just added to the chaos, and there was no need for any of that, like, whatsoever to occur at a concert. There was no need for that. I understand, like, fuck security from a 16-year-old mindset, but I'm 22, almost 23. So, like, and everyone there was an adult. Most people there were adults. So, like, how are you going to say fuck security when the whole point is to make sure that, everyone's safe at the venue? They're not like the cops that can arrest you, detain you, and interrogate you. They're just there to make sure no one dies. It's an asinine. It was asinine. The whole thing was disgusting. And Travis Scott has a whole history of this. There was actually a former security guard speaking about this at one of his events, and Scott repeatedly called him a bitch because he tried to prevent a guy from jumping over one of the fences, and it's like, and pushing him back into the crowd. He's like, oh, you some bitches, and obviously the security guard's like, what the hell? And then a bunch of people rushed the security guards. So the guy, and then he, at the beginning of his documentary, he got arrested at a concert for inciting a riot. Like, how can you defend this guy? And now 8 people are dead and hundreds are injured, and then he puts out some fake apology where he's polishing his forehead more than his legalese. I mean, it's like, you're gonna get charged, dude. Like, there's a class action suit with, the last time I heard, 35 people. 35 people already signed on, and much more. There were hundreds injured and 8 dead. And we're going to find out who those 8 are. And it's going to be really, really, really bad. It's going to be really bad for Travis Scott. I don't even... And then there was also, an incident of a guy running around with, drugs in his needle, injecting people so they passed out. A security guard had to get Narcan that saved his life because he just got injected with, like, drugs. I mean, there was so much wrong at that concert. The fact that, one, there wasn't enough direction to keep all those people at bay, so that's totally the venue's fault for not hiring enough security. The Live Nation's fault for not, like what? Like, how does this happen at a Live Nation event? Live Nation literally organizes Warped Tour, where people form walls of death, where half the concert splits into two walls of people, and you run at each other and punch each other. And there are less deaths in that than at a Travis Scott concert. Explain that to me. How that makes any fucking sense whatsoever. Like what? Like what? What? How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. It's disgusting. And, so Live Nation completely failed by hiring staff and booking a guy with this reputation. Completely messed up. They should not have worked with this guy. No one should work with this guy. Why would anyone want a Travis Scott concert in their community? But money, I guess, right? To the people that actually banned him from performing in their cities, smart people. But this is crazy, man. And it's like, that public apology was just to save his ass so he didn't get sued yet. or so he could say, oh well, I tried to do the right thing, and that he could claim some sort of ignorance or innocence. It's mind-numbing to me. Travis Scott represents a trend in the media and mainstream media of this cold callousness, this hyper, like I said, hyper individuality, that's shown in our capitalist media. A lot of the stuff that we see today is so individualistic and centric to the one person, that it often does not reflect the need for community action, for community, people to think about, hey, is this the right thing to do for other people? And there were some heroes, like I said, the people in the crowd, the regular people. As much as I like to be cynical and say, most people in America are individualistic and don't care about their fellow man. I read a story about a girl, or I don't even know their gender, or whatever, person with a broken ankle that didn't say anything to security or the medical team because there was a person that was unconscious for several minutes and said that person's more important than me. So giving up care for themselves to care for another. That's community. That's people. That's working together. That's caring about our country, you know what I mean? And our community. But it's not what Travis Scott represents, and what most media personalities and clout chasers represent, is not in the best interest for any society, because they're only into it for themselves. They're only into it for the money, for the clout, for the drugs, for the women, and that's it. They're not in it to just have a good time and chill out, you know what I mean? Like, you'll never see that happen at a punk show, a metal show, a jam band show. You'll never see that happen anywhere. Even raves, like, you don't see that stuff happening. But this type of event where, this guy has a reputation of events like this and brings out the worst in people, yeah, that's part of that negative media culture we see. And we see that in a lot of big events that are corporate sponsored, where it's either, that are chaotic, you know what I mean? We see, there is a lot of just hyper individualism in the content and in the mostly in the content, but this is in the form. This is so to see it physically manifest to this degree. I don't think I've ever seen it happen like this. I know I think the 8th deadliest concert in American history. Let's look up the 10 deadliest concerts. 10 deadliest concerts in American history. 10 deadliest concerts. Is this it? 10 deadliest human stampedes. Oh, it's actually, no, it's one of the deadliest concerts in U.S. history. I mean, this is insane. I can't really find the critics, but not the critics, the sources, but I'm really devastated by this. It's just hard to form words because I'm so angry about these. I'm so angry about this. I'm so angry about this because it's just, I know that a lot of people in America aren't naturally that callous, but Scott represents, and the people in the crowd that were following along with him are just part of that callousness and that culture of individualism where it's me above anyone else. I matter more than anyone else. And obviously you got to take care of yourself, but that's not in a healthy way. You know what I mean? Where it's yeah, we're going to rush security and I'm going to trample on people and I don't give a fuck if I'm going to, I don't really care if I'm going to kill someone or hurt someone because I need to be lit and I need my 3 seconds of fame. There were people jumping on top of ambulances and pushing back security that could have saved someone's life. Even medics, they were throwing stuff at them. It's there were so many things that could have been done to save lives quicker if the crowd, if 100% of the crowd just straight up was oh yeah, we need to stop and help. Because here's the thing too, even though people were panicked, if people's first reaction was to stop when something was wrong and help, this wouldn't have happened. It would have been like, oh, yo, we need to chill out. We need to help this person up. Forget what Travis Scott is doing. Forget the music or whatever. And just everyone just kind of being like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Something's not right here. You know, even when that stampede was happening and that large group was there and it was still contained, it was just kind of like, yo, like, we need to chill out, you know? There were people that saw what was coming, and everyone could have been like, whoa, back up, chill. And everything could have been calmed down. There's so many there's so many safety checks that just people themselves have that weren't executed, and that makes me think like, okay, are people more concerned about themselves? Is this event just a one-off where it's like this one artist attracts that type of person that only cares about themselves? And I guess like my overall message is just like, you know, it's a serious trend in this country where, you know, performing artists like that have such sway over a group of people, and where they can manipulate a bad situation to a lethal situation. And why are people like that allowed to perform? Like, you shouldn't be allowed to perform. If you make good music, like, fine, you can have the music, but like, you can't play it in my city. You know, I wouldn't go to a Travis Scott concert. I wouldn't even go to a festival affiliated with Travis Scott because I don't want to die. You know, like, that's crazy. You know, if his, like, there's concerts and festivals that I'd go to where it's like, you know, physicality is expected, and it's like, okay, like, I'm just gonna stay on the outskirts, or I'm gonna just like not go. You know, like Warped Tour, like there were certain bands where it was just kind of like, I'm not getting in the pit for that. You're crazy. I'm sitting on the very outskirts near the merch area eating my sausage and pepper. Peace. Like that's what I'm doing, bro. Like, I'm not getting right up next to the stage. It's not my jam, bro. You know, maybe it's just like, that's just me though. You know, but I've never seen something crazy like that again happen at like Warped Tour, or even at college shows, right? Like in basement shows. There's like, I've seen more etiquette and control in a literal 20 by 20 basement with 200 plus people moshing than I witnessed that professionally run concert by Live Nation. I think it's really sad that we're coming to this point where, you know, there's enough people in this country where something like this can happen, and even if the majority of the people are doing the right thing, there's not enough good people to actually stop it. And it's just like, it's just terrible. One woman was even critiquing it on Twitter, and she was just not critiquing. I don't want to make it sound like so academic and truthful, but someone said too, like when I was scrolling through the tweets, I was like, they said when people were booing her for saying there's people dying in the crowd, are calling one of the other guys trying to get the attention of security a bitch. She was like, this reminds me of the people denying that COVID was real, you know? It's like, it's happening right in front of you, but you're still saying it's not happening. You're saying, boo, get the hell out of here. And there was a moment from her recount, where the woman was just like, what did she say? Cut the camera, she said this, cut the camera, call him back up, pause something. They did nothing. I looked over at the sinkhole. People were screaming, reaching out their hands towards me, calling for help. I couldn't see the floor. The strangest thing happened in that moment. People began to boo at me. They pointed their fury at me, unleashed a rage. I screamed, people are dying, over and over. No one would listen. Isn't that crazy? No one would listen. And that must have felt so, like, just defeating and mind-numbing that, like, I don't even know how I would react. It's just like, but there's actually, like, people dying. Like, how is this happening right now? How is this happening right now? Like, why am I being booed for trying to help people? That must have been, I mean, like, a lot of these people are going to need, like, therapy or a trip around the country, because going through that's scary, man. I was almost crying reading some of this stuff. And it's really just disturbing that this was allowed to happen. I don't really have words. It's more just like this is more just like a rant, I guess, just kind of blaming it on like the selfishness of our society. That Instagram clout chasing culture, that just that deviousness, that I need my 3 seconds of fame. Even like in the people, even when people were sharing like, their accounts, even the girl that was sharing her account, even though she did a good thing, like it was so in depth, it was almost written like a scholar. Like how can you write that clearly, like, and be that traumatized? Like I wouldn't be able to do that. And there's even like accounts saying like, oh, for credit, see this person. For, video credit here, see this person. It's like, why are you giving people credit? Just share the information. I understand if you want to see if it's verifiable, but, part of the critique of this too is, oh, you just want your 10 seconds of fame. Well, this is also a 10 seconds of fame thing. It's just kind of like, what it can be seen as that. It's just, I don't know. I see it as really, really disturbing in both senses. Just because of how, our world works, where everything is clout. Everyone wants credit. Everyone wants recognition. And the lengths people will go to get it, to get fame, to get that. And it kind of falls back to, I guess, like, the desperate feeling people have living in our country where, hey man, bills got to get paid. Like we see it in stock culture. Like people are jumping on NFTs. People are jumping into Forex trading. People are, getting in with Bitcoin and Dogecoin. And like this is a shot at me too, because I'm in Dogecoin. I'm in Shiba Inu coin. And it's just kind of like the hope is like, oh, hey, hopefully this hits like $1 and I can walk away with a few thousand to 100,000. That would be really nice. And my problems would go away. But for the people that night too, for the people that are clout chasers in general, the goal is, oh, if I could be an influencer, then I don't have to work and I don't have to, work my 12-hour a day job. And I could pay bills and I'd be able to eat good food and work out more and do the things I like. And people are literally fighting for their survival. Like no one's looking out. I wouldn't say no one, but the trend is looking towards more looking for the self rather than looking for the others, and protecting the self over protecting the community. Which, protecting the community in turn always ends up protecting the self, because you are part of the community. So people are just so ripped apart and so digitized and phone pilled that it's just kind of like sad. Like there's no unity or community anymore. It feels like everyone's just kind of in their own little bubble and, choosing their own vibe or aesthetic. You'll see people in with their headphones or always on their phone because they want a distraction, and it's harder to build community that way when you have to get through a very quick, out, a quick out, which is pulling out your phone and saying, oh, I gotta take this, see you later. It's just harder to function, I feel like. And a lot of it is, the thing is too, no one really has a hobby anymore. Like everything I've seen that people take an interest in has been marketed in some way. So like, think of it like this, like you have a skill or something and you want to get better at, like take skateboarding for example, right? Like there's people that, like I post stuff on my Instagram because it's cool or whatever, or I'm just like, oh, I want to share this with people. But like there's people that will post stuff on the gram because they really want to make money out of it and a living out of it, which is fine. But like everything that is enjoyable has become commodified, is what I'm trying to say. Like say you like playing guitar and you're like, oh, like I want to blow up on TikTok or something, or I want to blow up on Instagram Reels, and you'll see these girls, like they'll put the makeup on and the cool outfit on, they'll just start like shredding like classic, 70s rock songs, and it looks cool and everything sounds good, the playing's great, but when does a hobby become a business? Where does something just strictly be, hey, this is for fun, instead of, hey, I'm going to make money off of this? Is there anything we enjoy that's not commodified? Like, I have hobbies outside of, like, podcasting is not a hobby for me. Like, I consider this a business. It's still fun for me, but a hobby for me would be skateboarding or CB radios or going to the gym or, I don't know, like exploring different places and going to thrift shops and just kind of being like, oh, that's a really cool thing. Or reading. These are hobbies of mine. These are pastimes of mine. Where is the borderline between pastime and hobby? And I feel like a lot of people don't take an afternoon to, like, I don't know, go build a mosaic or a puzzle or something, or to paint. I feel like everything has a commodified goal at the end, or it's like, oh, I'm not good at it, so why would I do it? Or, oh, like, it's not gram worthy, so why would I post it? Who cares? It's digital. You don't own it. Like, I technically don't even, like, not that I don't own my podcast, but, like, I don't have physical tapes of this show. Like, it's stored on the cloud. All of my episodes, teasers, and everything are on a portable hard drive. The only thing physical about this show is the laptop, the microphone, and the interface that I'm recording it on, and these headphones. This is the only physical thing. Backpacking America, I cannot hold Backpacking America unless I have, like, the the shirts or the hoodies or whatever. But, like, even this, like the things that we obsess over and that we put so much value in, we can't even hold. But we can hold each other. We can hold our community. Like, our community, our country, every one of these things is grounded in reality. This is a real thing. That's a real tangible thing. One, that's a flag. And two, like, the ground is your community. The store that you go to get food is community. The clerk is your community. These are tangible things that we physically perceive. And we're so stuck in this digitization, this commodification, and this like, it's a weird, like, this alternate reality that we forget what's really important. And that's why I think that, music like that, artists like Travis Scott and the situation that happened at Astroworld, that was all a build-up to, that's been going on for decades. And I feel like we need to undo that. We need to be more conscious of that. We can't just blame everything on capitalism. We can't just blame everything on the government. Like, at the end of the day, like, we also are responsible as well to a degree, Like, if we all agree that something is messed up, we have the ability to stop it. Like, if we all think that everyone's too much on the phone or everyone's too much on the internet or whatever, or there's too much commodification. Okay, well, we could stop that. You could put down the phone for an hour a day. You could go purposely out and talk to people. You can take your headphones out and just go and say, okay, I'm going to just listen to the sounds around me today. Those are just very simple things to do that don't require overthrowing a government to do. There's a lot of blame shifting, and really at the end of the day, it comes down to taking accountability for ourselves. And that's how we begin to undo a culture that caused what happened at Astroworld. I think that's what we really need to focus on moving forward from this tragedy. And I think that's the lesson we need to learn. We learned in COVID, at least for me, try to take life slow. You never know when the last time you get to do something is. And now we need to learn, you never know when you won't have a community anymore. And you never know when your society is going to be more focused on the individual, and that's when you don't have a society anymore. So I think that's what we really need to take from this, especially since everyone's so caught up on the culture wars. So, like, this is perfect, like, to just put the brakes on everything and just be like, oh, hold up. Look at how we view each other. Look at how disgusting this was. From Travis Scott down to the people that weren't taking control and saying, wait, let's stop for a minute. We don't need Travis. We don't need anyone else. We need to stop and help these people up. That all could have been avoided if people weren't so focused on their own physical enjoyment, especially the phone. Like, you'll even see in the beginning of the concert, like, everyone with the phones recording, which I get it. There's cool stuff, but, like, you're not going to, not that you're not going to remember it, but, like, it takes the joy out of it. Be like, oh, hey, I remember this, you know, and then you forget about it. Just, if people were more, like, in tune with their surroundings, this probably wouldn't have happened. Like, I sometimes I regret this, but, you know, I don't really have a lot of pictures or videos from when I was in college. I have some cool stuff, but, like, when I was at parties or whatever, I was just, like, enjoying the party. I was just talking to people. I was just there for the vibe. Like, I was really just trying to be immersed in the people. You know what I mean? So for this to happen, that's like the opposite of that. It's like immersed in just your own viewpoint of an experience. And then that's when all the tripping, the falling, the pushing start, because everyone wants that great shot for Snapchat or that perfect angle for Instagram. And everyone's crowding in because they want to get a picture of a freaking, you know, stage. And then, you know, people are getting crushed because everyone wants that picture. And it slowly ends up devolving into this. To, you know, 8 people died and hundreds were injured. So in the future, you know, we just as a society need to look out for each other more and just be more involved in our surroundings instead of just our own, what we think is our unique experience. How unique can something be if 500,000 people have the same picture or video? Thank you again for listening to another episode of Backpacking America. I am your host, Anthony. I think I'm going to pick up the moniker DJ Stash. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I think I put in too much focus on my mustache. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was episode 150. I think this is pretty good. Episode 150. We're going to do something for episode 200. I think 200 is definitely worth celebrating. Not that I didn't think 150 is worth celebrating. 150 is a very nice number. But I think I want to push it to episode 200 because I really want to make a really good bicentennial episode. I feel like a lot of the celebratory episodes were not my best work. So we're going to work on that. Guys have ideas, send them my way. We got 50 episodes to go until that point, so we got some time, but not too much time. We got about 25 weeks, so let's make them count. Until next time, my friends,